Good evening, this is Raven Dana, and thanks for joining me at Walking Between the Worlds. This is class 1 of 3 of the Practical Magic. So, I hope you're ready for an interesting ride. Over the course of the next 3 weeks, we are going to go deep into ways to practice magic, what it really means to practice magic, what magic actually is, and some key elements so that you can develop your own way of practicing, your own methodology of practicing. There are plenty of books out there about plenty of things, and here's the thing about this. You can read as much as you want. You can follow other people's formulas as much as you want, but it's not the formula. It's not the lighting of the candle or the words that actually make the energy flow. It's you. It's you make the energy flow. It is your ability to be grounded and focused. Your ability to extend your awareness into the world at large around you. Acknowledge your connection to the living world. Find that flow of energy and then direct the flow. So, magic is something that it's what we are, it's what we do. It's a word that's been given to something that seems mystical and seems as if it is beyond physics and beyond the understanding of modern science. The truth is, magic is just science we haven't figured out yet. That doesn't make it any less magical, because the world in which we live, this living, multi-dimensional universe of consciousness in which we are all immersed, is an absolutely incredible existence, one that is doubtful that our scientific method will ever really get to the bottom of. When we're multi-dimensional beings expressing ourselves in a three-dimensional reality, it's kind of hard to tie up all the loose ends. And that's why when we practice magic, we cut through all of that. We don't have to figure it out. All we need to do is notice what works and what doesn't, develop some tools and practices that put us in the flow, and allow ourselves to build our practice over time. So, at the heart of magic, we focus and we build and we release energy with a specific desired result in mind. Now, the truth is we do that a lot. We constantly do some version of that in the course of our daily lives. We're just not aware of it. But to get good at it, to know that we're doing it when we're doing it, to lean into it. Think about, to toss a ball through a hoop. Right? We can stand at the line and toss that ball, and sometimes it'll go in, and most of the time it won't. But to get good at it, we have to throw the ball a lot, right? There's practice involved. And if you want to get exceptionally good at it, and there's nothing that says you can't, there's also nothing that says you should or you have to. You can get moderately good at practicing the flow of energy, at practicing magic and having it work for you in your life reasonably well. Just like some people sit down and learn to play the piano, and then they can by ear play their favorite music, or pick up a song, pick up a piece of sheet music and learn how to play. But it doesn't mean you're going to go, you're going to take 2 lessons and play Chopin. It doesn't mean that either. It doesn't mean you're going to go perform a recital at Carnegie Hall after a month of lessons. It doesn't mean that either. So again, you can take your practice of magic as far as you wish, as far as is comfortable for you. And the truth of the matter is that it's something that we do all the time, and the more aware of what's happening you become, the more you're able to ride the flow of energy, direct the course of what's happening, pull yourself out of places of chaos. Now, really good practitioners of magic here's your disclaimer, here's your warning, here's your heads up. People who are pretty darn good at magic spend a lot of time working with themselves, clearing themselves out of their own negative traits, of their own chaotic ways of thinking, of the patterns and habits through which they shoot themselves in the foot. Sometimes when we're really striving for evolving, moving our lives forward in the right direction, We're going to hit a crisis because it's a way to wake ourselves up. And this is not just specific to the practice of magic. This is what we do in our ordinary lives. You may notice that sometimes it's after a major unpleasant event that the aha moment that follows gives you the presence of mind to take a course correction that perhaps you've been offered before but always ignored, that now you can see the error of your past or the way you had been shooting yourself in the foot, right? So again, I'm just giving you a heads up that if you want to get reasonably good at this, you're going to have to do some inner work as well, which again we're not going to get into today, but we will later on as the next week and the next week. Because any obstacle that you have is a block in the flow to energy. Any block in the flow to energy is going to slow down the desired results that you're looking for. Okay, so whether or not you're looking to develop your magical practice for the purpose of healing or for the practice of just in general making your life a little easier, attracting things to you that you desire with less struggle and greater ease, or navigating around obstacles, or redirecting chaotic energy that's coming your way, no matter what it is that you want to do with your practice, that's uniquely up to you. And you can work with it in a number of different ways. All right, like every other skill, it requires practice. Again, studies show that to get really good at things, anything in life, whether you're going to be a basketball player or a dancer, it takes about 10,000 hours. Now, it seems like a lot, but basically we live life in a magical frame of mind if we allow ourselves to step outside the box. And so that idea of 10,000 hours isn't particularly daunting. It's actually about 6 years worth of our time is like going to grad school. So if you practice pretty rigorously for the next 6 years or so, you could become very, very good at practicing magic. So again, I'm encouraging you in the sense that sometimes we practice something for a little while and we don't get the results we want. And we go, oh, that doesn't work, or that's not working, or I'm not good at that, or I just can't tap in. So I want to, set the tone for you right at the beginning to start small, take your time, reward yourself for the positive results that you get, not just when you practice, but when the natural course of magic is flowing in the right way for you. When synchronicities happen, when you have dreams that come true, when you think of somebody and they call you on the phone, those are all evidence of your magical connections at the deeper level. So always remember to say thank you for those, to celebrate those, to lean into those, to give the universe a nod, like, okay, thanks, I got that memo. So, you might find that some things are easier than others for you to do. Do you need, books and spells and rocks and crystals and cauldrons? And no, you do not. However, these are tools that have been used for a long time to focus attention, to gather energy. And you may find that a couple of tools work for you, that having some tools enhances your ability to focus and to direct energy. So again, do you need all of those things? No, you do not. Especially at the beginning, it might not be a bad idea to kind of even look in your environment and find some things that make sense to enhance your practice. See, I start talking and the kitty comes right in, my little familiar. Okay, so, what you're going to need, though, is to practice daily. You'll need a dedicated time to practice quieting your mind, which is your biggest obstacle in practicing magic. It's the noisy mind. And to allow your instinct and your intuition to rise to the surface so that you can learn to pay better attention to your own energy and the flow of energy around you. Practice like driving, like cooking, right? It's like cooking. If somebody gives you a recipe for bread, even if you follow it exactly, you may have discovered, as I have, that the recipe is not the biggest part of the equation here, that the person making the bread, the person whose hands are kneading that dough, the person who has the skill to smell right at the moment when that bread is ready. That's the real magic, not the recipe. Yes, you need to follow the recipe, but that's just the outline. Here, come on, kitty. That's just the outline. That is just the ingredients, and how you put them together and what you do and the way that you relate to it while you do it. You know, like that, those old grannies who bake love into every loaf, their bread's going to taste different than somebody that's just scratching their head hoping they get it right. Okay? Energy. It is magic. That's a type of magic. All right. Let's talk a little bit about physics and the mindset of magic. So, if you just relax for a moment and consider how much of the world, how much of reality we don't have conscious contact with. We know that out of all known frequencies, our bodies, our sensory equipment, is able to pick up less than 1% of the information available that we know of. That's not counting all the information available that we can't measure. Okay, so having said that, becoming more and more aware and alive in the larger part of your awareness, not just the little piece of the iceberg that pops above the surface of the water, right? Not just the intellectual, rational mind, but to become more deeply aware of the flow of not just energy, but the information that is carried on that energy to you and through you all day and all night. The more aware you become that you are in a living universe, a living world in which living beings, in which consciousness itself is in constant communication and flow. The more you can lean into that, the more the mindset for magic helps you to do what you desire. You're not separate from the magic and the flow. You're not separate from the universe, which is alive around you. You're part of it. You're inside of it, and it's inside of you. So at the very root of magic is the understanding, not an intellectual understanding, but a gut level feeling, a knowing, an experience of connection. So whatever it takes to get you there, whether it's walking in the woods, meditating, doing mantras, practicing ritual, whatever that is for you that gets you in that space, that is one of the most critically important things you can do to enhance your practice of magic and your understanding of how energy moves, how energies that are like attract, how what you seek also seeks you. Okay? That is the fundamental reality underneath the practice of magic, is knowing that the lines of communication are all always open, and it just depends on how you're tuned in or what channel you're on. You know, just like when you're watching television, there can be there are lots of channels, but you're not seeing them all at once. You're seeing one at a time. You're changing the channel. So when you're practicing magic, it's useful to be aware of a lot more of the channels than this one little narrow band you're focused on in front of you. And to become aware with practice how you can change the channel, how you can change the frequency, the tuning inside of you to shift in such a way that energy is moved, that energy is built, or in the case of something unpleasant or chaotic or negative, you can lean into that idea to dissipate that energy, to move it past you, to get it away from you. Okay? So, what do you suspect moves energy? So, just like in the course of our daily lives, we experience patterns and habits that form and change through repetition and emotional intensity. Well, emotional intensity, repetition, imagery, the imaginal input that we give to things, all of that creates, generates, and moves energy. So just have that in mind. You might have to identify and overcome an obstacle if your energy gets stuck. In the same way, if you're sitting at work and you can't get past something and you can't think and something's not working, you have to get up and shake it off and go outside, or maybe have a cup of coffee, or think about something else for a while. Well, when you're practicing magic and you start to feel frustrated, when you feel like I'm putting this effort in or this intention, you're probably working too hard. Right? Being in the flow with a sense of confidence, having your intention very clear, right? It's different to say, if you say, well, I want more money, that's great. I'll reach in my pocket, I'll give you $1, shut up and go away. But if what you mean is, I want $500 or $1,000 more a month, if you mean I want $1,000 more a month, but you don't think it's possible, so you say I want 500, well, okay, the flow, the energy that you're attracting is paying exquisite attention to the clarity or cloudiness of your intent. So if you have a block, for example, if you're doing some magical work for gaining income, but you also think that you can't get it or don't deserve it, well, one of two things will likely happen. You'll either get less than you are shooting for, or you'll get the full amount, but then the car will break down. Or you'll get the full amount, and then the cat will break your favorite lamp. Or you'll get the full amount, and then, right, something will happen to fulfill the rest of the energy that you're putting out into the experience. So it doesn't mean that your magic isn't working. It means that magic is not so much what you do, it resonates with who you are. So when something's not flowing, you need to reference yourself. What's not flowing in me? Where am I blocked? Or where am I holding something up? Now, this does not mean that everything you wish for and hope for and do magic for is going to work for you if you just find out that thing that's in the way. Sometimes something that we're looking for is simply not in our best interest. And I encourage you to always include in your intention the words, I am creating such and such, or I am calling for so and so to happen, if it is in my best interest, my highest good. Because sometimes, and I could tell you stories, but not today. In the next week I will tell you some stories. Sometimes we call something into being that actually, well, we get the thing, but what comes with it or the consequence or what it costs us in some other area isn't always worth it. So we want to, in our intention, have some clarity there about this thing that we're creating or that we want. How are we going to lean into it, right? How much do we want it? What are we willing to give up to get it if that's a requirement? Or if we believe that's a requirement, which is more often the case. Sometimes we believe in order to get this, I have to give up that. And so then it happens that way. All right, so enough of the laying. We can start very, very simply, and that's what we're going to do, with some thoughts about, hey, finding a parking place. All right, it's fun, it's easy. You'll get really good at it with some practice. You can do it any number of ways. You can envision the parking space being open. You can say a little ditty, like you can create, somebody once told me we're going to create the goddess asphalt, right? So asphalta, full of grace, bring to me a parking place. You can do something entertaining like that. The archetypes, the gods love to laugh. We make them laugh all the time. Guides, guardians, ancestors, they're laughing at us left and right. We're goofy critters, but they also like to help, okay? So you can create something that's fun, that gives energy, positive energy, that creates flow. I'm telling you, I never have to search for a parking place. I swear, I can come down the street, see that there's nothing available, and by the time I get there, either somebody's pulling out or somebody's walking out of the store to get into the car. I don't have problems finding a parking place. The very worst case scenario, if I'm at a grocery store, is I might have to go down the aisle and come up the other side for my spot to open up. But over the years, I've gotten unconsciously really good at it. Don't even talk to Esvalta anymore. She's just always there. Okay. So the mindset, clear intention, have clear intention. And that means the ability to think from the end result. So if you are making some magic for something, if you're going to lean into attracting, say, a new job, you want to have enough clarity about what that's going to look like. You don't have to specifically know what the job is, but you need to set some parameters. I'm attracting a job that will make me at least X amount of money, doing something that I love, with people that I enjoy, for a boss that appreciates and values me. Those are the critical elements, right? Doesn't much matter how that can pan out in 67,000 different ways. But if the elements, if the clarity is there in, like some people say, well, I want a job doing blah, 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 and I want to make this amount of money. Well, and then they get a job doing whatever that is that makes even more than that amount of money. But they hate their coworkers, the job is boring, or their bosses suck. Okay, so clarity is very important when you're playing with energy, because look, on the deepest level of our awareness, where consciousness creates experience, it is a neutral party. The memo that we present down to the deep level of reality is going to be taken at face value and created. Okay? So clarity is a really good thing. All right, so again, if your intentions are foggy, well, your results are probably going to be on the foggy side too. So simply put, the physics of magic is the process through which individuals amplify or disperse energy through the practices of directing their consciousness and their unconscious attention toward a desired outcome. And note to self, we do this every day. We do it every day. Okay. We are participants in a multi-dimensional world of energy, a multi-dimensional universe of energy. Synchronicities in our lives provide clues that we are receiving responses from the world around us, that the world around us is listening and responding. When we think of a song and poof, it's on the radio. When we think of a friend and we get a phone call. When we have this urge to go into a store that we haven't been into in months and months, and there on the shelf in front of us is this item we just thought about yesterday. I wonder whatever happened to those things. I really liked those, and there they are. All right, those synchronicities are memos from us to us about our relationship with the unseen world. This is the foundation of magic. So knowing your tools, anything that works to enhance your ability to feel grounded in your experience of magic is a useful tool. Whether that means you enjoy lighting a candle or incense, or you have a collection of crystals, or you have an altar space, or none of the above, right? But if you have some tools, my suggestion is make sure that they're tools that work for you, not just tools that some book says that you need to have, because that's irrelevant. There are as many ways to do things as there are people on the planet. So what works for you to focus your attention and enhance your energy, that's great. If you like a wand that looks like Harry Potter's wand, by all means get one. If you want a handful of crystals to put around somewhere, absolutely do it. Is any of it a requirement? No. Are they helpful? Sure. I have lots of stuff. You have no idea how many sticks I have in my house, and rocks. Sticks and rocks. Because I love to bring the outside in. The outside is in every corner of my house. I like it that way. To me, that enhances my experience of being outside when I'm in and inside when I'm out, and it's very enjoyable. So whatever works for you. Thousands of people over thousands of years have used similar kinds of tools to do magical workings. So again, every place that we've been and every person who's done some sort of magical work has left an imprint behind. So certain places tend to have more energy that appeals to magic than others, right? Sacred places, liminal spaces like shorelines, places like caves, sacred sites where lots of positive things, lots of people have come to hope and pray and dream and wish and be healed. So places have imprints of energy. And when people perform a certain ritual or a spell, for example, which is a type of ritual, right? When people have been doing the same thing the same way over the course of many years, then that ritual in itself carries with it an imprint of energy from all the people who have done it. Now, that doesn't mean it's a guarantee that if you open a book and read the words and stand facing the right direction, it's going to happen. Because I'm reminding you that your consciousness, is the key to the magic. Now, if those things help you to focus your attention, if they put you in the mood, right? If they get you in the state of mind for magicking, for opening the gateway to your movement of expectation based on your intention, absolutely. Use those words, use those instruments, do those things. But it's something it's going to happen for you as you practice. You may notice that water works better for you than something else. You may notice that having a candle lit works better than having incense. You may notice that having a pile of rocks in front of you feels more energetically stabilizing than saying a bunch of words that rhyme. I don't know what will work for you. And you don't either until you practice and see what does and what doesn't work for you. So again, you can, and I encourage you to read and research. I encourage you to play. I think that there are plenty of things out there that you can use as guidelines, but I don't encourage you to take any of them to heart as the way to do a thing. I encourage you to take a look at how things work for you. All right, so while it's interesting and useful to be familiar with rituals, they are, again, not unlike a recipe. Like, your Aunt Tilly's favorite cookie recipe, that there's something about Aunt Tilly that makes the cookies delicious, that for as much as you have made her recipe, somehow, some way, it just ain't the same, all right? Magic is like that. That when you get it right, when you get good, when something shifts for you and you're in the zone, you're going to know. You're going to feel it. And results will come in a way that's fluid and effortless. So again, play with some of the small magics. Look at things like parking places. Look at things like finding things that you haven't seen in a while. Look at thinking about friends that you would love to be in contact with, and see if they give you a call or shoot you an email, or if you get a text out of the blue. Because let me tell you, that stuff happens all the time. So let yourself practice with those things that already happen occasionally in your life, and see if you can get a regular skill built up in that practice. So, don't get trapped in just following the recipe, right? Use the recipe as your guideline, as a basis if you want to, or you can create your own. You can find your own way to go about doing things. All right, I'm going to show you 2 books that I recommend. This one, which is called Small Magics, okay, Small Magics. It has a lot of useful information in it. It's, kind of a back to basics guide for a magical practice. Byron Ballard, local witch in North Carolina, wrote this book, and it's got some useful tools and tips, again, you're going to find that she'll tell you a lot of things about how she does stuff, and then she'll say, go ahead, go try that on your own. So that's an interesting read, and it'll give you some tips. This book, I really love this book. It is called Teaching the Living. Now, at first glance, it appears to be more about dealing with the paranormal and ghosts and things like that. But as I have continued to read the book, it occurred for me that no, this is really about the movement of energy and about the expression of magic in the world through each of us as individuals, and how consciousness itself, and she spends a lot of time on this, so I encourage you to read this book. Again, it's called Teaching the Living, and it's by Morgan Knudsen, Knudsen. Okay.